we vote on that at the same meeting if we accept that as a bylaw addition?
No, we have to first vote to approve the bylaw. Oh, that's right. I guess after we approve it, we could vote on it
Okay.
The same meeting, I mean.
at the same meeting, yes.
All right. So that's just a discussion. That's just an item or just a suggestion for myself. I wanted to mention that. Thank you. Okay. At this time, continuing reorganization, but without the officers, do we have a motion to reappoint Daly Law Firm as the solicitor?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. Do we have a motion to reappoint Barbara Kane Thornton as our auditor?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. Do we have a motion to renew our contract with Course Vector for our web services?
So moved.
Do we have a second? And any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. Okay. Do we have Mr. Nelson? Okay. Is there any objection to me providing the treasurer's report in his absence, since I do work closely with Mr. Nelson?
No.
I'll do the best I can with the information that I have. Okay, so all of you should have received the treasurer's report, which is prepared by Brinker Simpson. It has the, give me 1 second, I'm trying to look at this. It has our bank fees of $76.30 in December. It has that we distributed $147 and $375 in grants in December. Legal and professional services of $27.40. Total expenditures of $150,190.30. We earned $919.16 in interest, and our net revenue was $149,192.14. So our beginning balance was $721,080.35, and our registered balance as of 12/31/2024 was $388.21. You have the statement from our bank, TD Bank, for the month of December 2024 with all of the transactions. Are there any questions about the treasurer's report that was prepared by our treasurer in conjunction with Brinker Simpson? Do I have a motion to approve the January 2025 treasurer's report? Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. Also, do I have a motion to, all of you should have received this invoice that was distributed to you or shared with you via email. Do I have a motion to approve payment of invoice 1011 of $1,250 to Majane Technologies?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Excuse me. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. All of you should have received the invoice from Brinker Simpson that provides the treasurer's report and other accounting services to us. Do I have a motion to approve the payment of invoice 84061 of $1,580 to Brinker Simpson?
So moved.
Second.
Second?
Yep,
Thank
second.
you. Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. Thank you. Also, all of you should have received the excuse me, fourth quarter 2024 invoice of $1,625 to Daily Law Firm. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second, thank you. Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carried. All of you should have received a motion to approve payment of invoice DCGRA-8 of $113 to Spirit Media Group Incorporated, and I believe this was for the publishing of our meeting dates, Mr.
Correct.
Solicitor?
Correct.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second, thank you. Questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carried. I don't have the email in front of me on the grant agreements not received or grant payments not mailed or transferred as of 1/15/2025. I do know that it is significantly less than the ones at our last report. There are still a few grantees that have requested a check payment. I believe it was 5. But the ones that did not submit their grant agreements, I believe they're not on this report that Mr. Nelson emailed us the other day. So we'll continue to follow up with those organizations that haven't submitted their grant agreements. And it was a short turnaround for some of them because Ms. Sheehan was with me when I did the last presentation to council. So that was a short turnaround. But we'll continue to stay on top of those. Also, I did start the process, and the solicitor may have a comment during his report of trying to streamline the grant agreement to provide a conditional grant agreement within the application. So it will be conditional upon the grant applicant of receiving being awarded the grant by us and approved by county council. So that process has started. And hopefully by the next meeting, we will have the language possibly for the next grant that we start to put out for that grant.
Okay.
Yes.
I just was quickly looking in the minutes to see if we had a list of those nonprofits whose checks had not cleared last time. So because I was going to ask, well, have they cleared since? And I know there was some discussion about an erroneous bank fee of $38.58, which is going to be refunded. I don't see that refund though in the bank statement.
In fact, they charged us again for another month work.
Did they? Where is that in the?
We had $76 in fees.
Ah,
Was the transfers, $10 transfers 4 times. Then there's another $38 that I think should not be there based on our discussion last month. And
yes,
again, it hasn't been refunded the prior month.
right.
Okay, so that's for November and December?
Well, yes, November and December, because I'm looking at the December bank statement and that has the additional charge on it.
Okay, I will follow up with Mr. Nelson.
Yes, let's record that in the minutes
Yes.
that that is an important piece for him. Okay, thank you.
That seems like it should go under the treasurer's report.
Yes, I'm sorry to bring it up
Yeah.
after the fact. I happened to be glancing more carefully at the 2 documents because I wanted to see which grants were outstanding.
Yeah, I guess we still are under treasurer's report.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just covering different items. No, that's fine. It's fine. Okay. Also, I don't have it yet, but I am working with the Majane Technologies. He did make some of those corrections on that grant list, and we should have that soon, so we can have that posted on our website. So
And he's about to have, will that include the 3 grants that council approved at its meeting last week or the week
yes, I'll
before
make
that
sure
you
we
were
have
at?
those, yeah. Mhm.
Is he doing our website postings now in general? Because he'll need to post that you have been reelected, the new
Yes.
officers have been elected and, okay, good.
Thank you. And I believe right before before my presentation, I could not recall the number. And I believe it was, excuse me, over 1.5 as of November. Since
Oh,
our
yeah. Oh,
inception
yeah.
to November, yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously we did
Significant.
some in December and now we've done some in January. So
Mhm.
that's just yeoman's work by all of you, so I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Okay, so we have a tentative budget. We are not voting on this. This is just a discussion. All of you should have it in front of you. I do see some miscalculations or some errors. So let's start with the special, I don't know why this is listed as special categories, but let's start with the categories. And we usually do the categories as we're launching those categories, so these numbers can change. So this is just tentative as far as, that's the sheet here, Francis.
Yes, I know. I just want to make sure that the starting balance January 1st of 537,388, it's approximate. I'm just going to assume it's the right number because the bank balance is 544.
Okay, all right. So tentatively, we have for arts and culture, 150 for 2025. Is there any comments on that? And I thought it was more this year, wasn't it?
No,
Did we increase it? Did we
well,
start off with 150 and we went
I don't
to
know. These
155?
are, so these numbers don't necessarily match what we did last year. I thought what we were going to do was put in the numbers that we did last year, because you're right, we increased some of the numbers as more proposals came in.
Okay,
And I just, these are from, these aren't those numbers, but
okay,
we could certainly work with them. I think the key question in my mind is that we know we're looking at two different documents, the quarterly cash flow
correct.
document
Mhm.
and this sort of what our grant making might look like budget. If the starting balance is almost 540 and we anticipate we're going to bring in $1 million over the course of the year, then we have $1.5 million to work with.
Correct.
It looks like just over 50,000 will be for our operating costs, which I think is admirable. And, thanks to the time we're all putting in unpaid time, that's a pretty significant, very small percentage of overall income to spend on operating costs. And I'm just going to assume that all these numbers are correct based on the bills that we incurred last year, because this is Andrew's estimates. The total grant number, that's only, if I look back at the other document, that's only the special category funding.
Correct, yeah.
And if we also provide some special grants and for 140, again, estimates, and then we have another 210 available for new opportunities and emergencies, I would think what we want to do is really increase the number of total grants so that we end the year with no more than we started with. This money is supposed to be working for the community. I definitely don't think we need to be ending the year with $836,000 in the bank.
Right, so right now it
that's-
looks like, go ahead, I'm sorry. I didn't.
Right now, it looks like we're starting with $500,000. We're going to bring in $1 million, but we're only going to spend 650. And if you want the numbers on this grant budget sheet to match this, it would be, let's see, 650 plus 140 plus 210,
Million.
which is the $1 million. So somehow we need to, if we start out, if we bring in $1 million and we spend $1 million, we're still going to have 537,000 in the bank. And that's still more than I personally think we should. I think we should be moving a good 1.2 or 1.3 million out the door. And I don't know that we need to have a lot of discussion about what we're going to spend that money on, but I mean, that's up to you as chair, but I think we need to make a commitment to not end the year, not end up at the end of December of this year with much more than we are with a lot less than we're starting the year with. We're starting the year with $500,000. We're not moving money out the door fast enough.
I agree. And it looks like there's another category that was added that we did that as a special grant to senior serving organizations. I don't recall us doing that as a
Category,
category. We just-
because there weren't that many.
Correct,
We
yeah.
just, yeah, but
Yeah.
we could make it a category, certainly, or
It's
not.
a lot of work to do categories. I'm fine with the 4 traditional categories.
And so in other,
Everything else being a special grant.
okay, gotcha.
Go ahead, Vince, I'm sorry.
That's good.
I certainly agree in principle that the money needs to be working for the community and that we do need to be getting it out there. So I largely agree with everything that you all have said here. The one thing that I heard that I would like to have more discussion on is I do not believe that we need to be doing more grants in terms of the number of grants. I've been now saying for a while that I would like to grow and deepen the relationships that we have with existing nonprofits that we know are doing valuable work and putting the money to excellent use. I continue to believe that spraying the money around in small grants is less impactful for the community, and that investing in the organizations and people who we know to be providing excellent services is a worthwhile endeavor. So from my perspective, I would be very comfortable going to our special grant partners who have been good partners and continue to do good work and making significant increases. And just by way of example, I'm not making any motions or suggesting anything definitive, but I would be very comfortable taking the Public Defenders Fund to 25. I would be very comfortable taking Share Food to 50. I would be very comfortable taking the Literacy Council to 50. I would be very comfortable taking Be Proud to 50. I would be very comfortable taking Delco Arts Day to 10 or beyond. I would be very comfortable talking to Delco Gives Day about what may be appropriate beyond 25. The Jumpstart is something that I would like to talk more about before I make that kind of statement or commitment. And I would also suggest that we add the Making a Change Foundation to the potential list of special grants. They are Chester-based and do an incredible amount of intervention work that is very valuable. And they've been a grantee in the past. They haven't been a special grantee in the past, but I think that it may be appropriate for them to move from the regular category to the special grant category because of the important nature of the work that they do. So I really do feel strongly about this idea of strengthening and deepening our relationship with some of our now multi-year, long-standing, high-quality partners. But I absolutely agree we should get the money out there. Yeah.
And maybe what we want to do, I mean, it's interesting that you pulled Making a Change Group out, absolutely fabulous organization. Maybe there's some more careful looking at each of the categories, the 4 categories and that we've been working with to pull out some organizations in those categories for special grants, like Making a Change, because they've been in the youth serving category, maybe the Boys and Girls Club. Maybe there are some organizations where we know they've got a track record, they're reaching folks really deeply, they're well-run, they're well-led, they're stable, they have strong boards, that gives us an opportunity to do more.
Yeah, no,
I think it's a really good point.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I mean, I feel like we have a nice problem that we had this growth of funds. We started out getting like 25,000 a quarter, now we're 250,000 a quarter. So we need to, be more open-minded to how we're going to spend all that money.
I agree. I agree with what
Mhm.
Francis and Vince said, as well as you. Yeah, the numbers that are on here add up to like 790 or something like that. I didn't even add the remaining for new opportunities or emergencies. And if we're looking at 1.5, that's only half. I don't even think we're gonna have the QuickBooks expense because we're not really using that or need that, so we may get rid of that. I mean, that's minuscule, but that's something. So maybe our total operating expenses will be around that amount or a little bit more, won't be significantly more, but 1.5, 1.4, 1.3 million
Well,
is essentially what we can distribute next year.
is everything in here? I don't see anything for the website. Oh, email domains, $100? We can't just be spending $100. Didn't we just incur an expense for, what's the name of the,
Andrew and I are working on that. Because when we started the organization, there's almost like, there's a vendor for the website. There's a vendor for the website domain. There's a vendor for the email. There's a vendor for the website design.
well, there's Course Vector.
Right.
So Course Vector, I don't know if they're in here.
I think that's covered with the exception of the ADA, which we just voted.
So where would Course Vector be?
I don't think there's a fee for Course Vector this year. I'll double check.
In the coming year?
I-
That we won't pay them anything?
I don't think so. I think I talked to the VP and they seemed to think that we were covered.
We were covered.
I'll double
We had a
check.
credit.
Yeah, we had a credit.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, I missed that.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
my apologies.
But
Okay.
we did have to renew them even though we're not giving them anything.
Okay.
What I was gonna say is, I agree with you. I think that, I shouldn't say it like that, but there are opportunities for us to make more impact with organizations, especially those that are Delco wide or serve multiple municipalities
Mhm,
or
mhm.
serve
Sure.
high-risk municipalities. And I think we can still continue to do the arts and culture categories to help a lot of grassroots organizations.
Mhm.
10 or 20 that we've been doing, but for us to do 50 arts and
Mhm.
culture or 50 youth serving grants of
Mhm.
$5,000 or $10,000 is just, it becomes a little bit mundane. And I think we can have more impact with organizations that are serving multiple municipalities or helping countywide,
Mhm.
like you guys have said. So I think we don't have to do 5,000 grants. We could probably do maybe 50 or 60 grants within a year and still have more impact in that way.
Mhm.
So why don't all of us send recommendations to Andrew individually, because we can't do it collectively.
For what the budget should look like?
Yeah, well, give your recommendations for the categories and the recipients of the special grants to Andrew.
Is that his
And-
decision?
Say that again?
Is that,
I think it's
Is-
just for him to collate, for him to
Yeah,
compile,
to bring together into a document, yes,
to compile.
yeah.
I think, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
What's your concern or,
I don't have any concern.
okay.
Mm-mm.
You mean recommendations that, like Vince just shared a handful of recommendations of organizations that
Well,
know well that.
I'm asking that you send your recommendations for the 4 traditional categories that we have, the amounts, as well as the recipients of special grants and the amounts. And he'll try and put something together. I'll have him put something together. Is she in?
Are we moving on?
I'm asking. I'm
I don't have
I'm
any
not creative,
comment.
I'm not
No,
creative.
I'm not. I don't have any comment to make. I think at this point, I'd really just like to see us make a commitment that we're not going to end up the year with more money in the bank than,
That will be,
and I'd like it to be significantly less.
I agree.
So-
That will be I will give him that direction, and you can also make that
Mhm.
your goal as well when you send
Mhm.
that to him. Yeah, I'm in total agreement with you.
Yeah, I mean, in my mind, it's easy. I'm just going to make it $350,000 every quarter. I don't, how we divide it up, to me, doesn't have anything to do with the treasurer.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
I just know I want us to end up the year with having spent 1.3 million so that we end up with 237,000 in the bank.
Okay, so a
That's,
small
to
buffer,
me,
not a huge
it.
buffer. I
And this
agree.
is what the cash looks like, because at this point, unless we issue an RFP in February and folks start submitting money in proposals in March, and then the council approves them in April, we're not going to spend any money in the first quarter at this point. So
Oh, I see what you're saying.
there's a cash flow issue, which we're more than on top of, but how we divvy up the money between special grants and, a categorical funding, to me, is not a budget issue.
Okay,
As
so-
long as he's on top of cash flow, which he certainly is, we have more than enough cash. To me, it's just about making a commitment that we're going to try and move as much money out the door every quarter so that we end up with less money in the
And I
bank
think
at
that,
the end of the year.
and I think that's gonna be, I think the cash flow is gonna be more efficient. We're not inefficient in a bad way. We're inefficient, the only inefficiency is when the grantees don't respond in a timely fashion for them to receive the money. I think now that we have an electronic format for them to receive the funding, that cash flow will be more efficient on their end and our end, if that makes sense. Because there's a big delay from the time that county council approves the grants to the time that they actually get the funding because of all these other steps that they have to go to. Once we streamline the application and more of our applicants start to receive the funding electronically, or we make it where they're picking up their checks from Andrew, and that could be done in a
Right.
reasonable, timely fashion rather than stuff getting lost in the mail or at the grantee's office. I think the cash flow will be more
Yeah.
efficient. Mr. Vince.
Sure, thank you. Two quick points here. I absolutely agree with the idea that we should be getting more money out the door, and we should end this year with less money than we ended last year. I do want to just offer a slight caution. We have noted time and again that we operate with almost no sort of support staff or infrastructure. And one thing that I don't want to do is get caught flat-footed without any money to fund those things if and when we get to a point where we need even more horsepower in order to get grants out the door, to then not have any money in the bank. So I do think that getting the money on the street more quickly and more thoroughly this year than last is absolutely important, but I want to be mindful that some nest egg, some buffer is valuable for the organization. And then I apologize if this opens a can of worms, but I do want to put out the idea of creating what, for lack of a better term, I would call a census fund, where we set aside a somewhat significant amount of money year over year over year, so that when the census comes, we are able to support either the county or whatever nonprofit entity makes sense to make sure that we are appropriately and robustly funding Delaware County's efforts to be appropriately counted in the next census, because so much of what we do relative to nonprofit work, philanthropy, food security, so many of our priorities are impacted by Delaware County's census results. And if we don't plan in advance and have appropriate infrastructure, we forfeit potentially tens of millions of dollars in state and federal money and other philanthropic monies by not being prepared and not being appropriately counted in the census. So I wanted to, nobody thinks about it until 2029, and then it's hard to fit in your budget, et cetera. So that is an idea that I have.
Yeah, I think that's actually very thoughtful, very forward thinking. at the Foundation for Delaware County, we held the census fund and raised the funds to do the census support work in 2020 or it was 2019, then pandemic hit.
Right.
I think though that to build on what you're saying, the strength of the nonprofit community in 2029 is going to be very much reliant on our investment now and ongoing. And maybe what we're doing when we make grants to nonprofits between now and 2029 is we make a point in either in our grant agreement and or in conversations that it is our expectation in supporting you right now that you are thinking ahead to 2029. And then it will be our expectation in 2029 that if and when we fund you, then you will actively participate in all the county's census activities. I think that response will be, of course, but essentially what we're saying to them is we're going to give you support for the next 5 years, depending on, your activities, et cetera, with the understanding that in the 5th or 6th year, we won't be giving you money blind. We will be giving you money specifically for census activities. So that's a way, building on what you're saying, Vince, I think we were really caught when we started talking census in 2019. A lot of groups were relatively new. They were very unfunded, still are, but even more so back then. New leadership. No one had kind of done this in the same way before.
Right.
And so pulling everybody together and starting those conversations just sort of came out of nowhere. I think if we start talking about it now over the next 5 years, as to SIGRA in our funding efforts with them, then I think people are going to be better prepared. It's going to be their expectation. Okay, when am I getting invited to the first census meeting? In 2028. So I think your point is very well taken. I don't know that I would build much of a reserve for it, but I would absolutely start communicating that our funding is dependent on you working with everyone else to make the census effort a success.
Fair enough. No, I appreciate that.
Any other comments?
My only other comment is I would love the list from Eugene sooner rather than later, because I'm going to go through that and it's going to tell me when were the groups last funded? When did we fund share? When did we fund the literacy council? When would we want to fund them again? Because that would be in the budget for the cash flow. And, when did we do the different categories of funding?
Right.
That all that's really what you're asking for. And then pulling different groups out. Like making change group. When did we fund them last?
Right. Okay.
That would help me tremendously.
I'll work on it. Thank you. All right. Any other comments on the budget? Okay. Thank you. All right. At this time, I'll turn it over to our solicitor for a solicitor's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The chair had brought to my attention that we do not have a document retention policy. And I would like authorization to draft and submit to the board for consideration at next month's meeting, a docket retention policy. Document retention policy.
Do we have to make a motion, or because it's not on the agenda, or I believe I can just ask you to do it.
All right,
Correct.
I will take that as
Is everybody
authorization.
fine with that generally?
And also, as the chair has mentioned, we've tried to come up with a document regarding when we award the grants. We've had input from Jonathan Lichtenstein, the county solicitor. The chair took the laboring order to draft first draft, and I had some comments to that. And I think it's something that we should have ability to present at next month's meeting.
What document?
This is the agreement, the grant application
Oh,
that has the integrated conditional grant agreement in it. I did pretty good for not being a lawyer, didn't I?
I was thinking that as I was reading through it.
Thank you. Also, do you want to talk about the SoFi as well? Or did you do that at the last meeting? State of financial interest?
I'm sorry.
Statement of financial interest.
Oh, well, yes, we have to, the board should realize that April 30th is fast coming, all not fast enough for those of us who don't like cold. And you have to file your annual disclosure. And it's actually based upon information from 2024 that you file in 2025. It is available online. It can be done online, but if anybody would like me to send them the form, I'll be glad to do so. Just let me know.
Thank you.
Can you send us the link?
I'm sorry?
Can you send us the link to the online?
How to find it
I'm
on,
Is
gonna-
it on the State Department,
Okay.
Secretary of State's site?
I know Andrew did it last year.
Good luck.
That was
The
how I
youngest
became
brother.
familiar.
I can do it online, I don't mind, as long as somebody gives me the link.
All right, I may have to ask Andrew where that link is.
I'll find it, thank you.
Okay.
Also, do we have a conflict?
When you said SoFi, I was thinking of a stadium in Los Angeles.
Oh,
where I watched
I
a
was thinking
football game.
of
was just-
the company behind it.
I worked for Xerox for a long time and we have a lot of acronyms.
Okay. Well, I had a brain cramp when I heard that.
That's fine. Also, are you aware if we have a conflict of interest policy?
We do.
Do we, does that
Probably
require a
should update
conflict
it.
of interest document to be signed annually? Because I do see some other boards doing that on an annual basis.
Well, I don't think we need to do it on an annual basis, but I do think we need, when somebody is new to the board, they should be given that and they should sign it.
Okay,
And I'm not sure that I ever gave one to Vince
okay.
for one.
Or Andrew.
Or Andrew, that's
Okay.
true.
Can you review it and see if there is a document that notes that you have acknowledged and received it?
There, it is. It's in the, it's part of the documentation.
Okay, all right. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions for the solicitor? Any unfinished business? Moving on to new business, all of you should have received some information concerning a special grant, and I will read the motion. Do I have a motion to approve a one-time special grant of $13,860 to the city of Chester for a public government app for residents and businesses? This is subject to county council approval. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments?
My only question is, it's a 13, and I'm supporting the proposal and I plan on approving it. But it's an annual cost. How are they paying for it going forward? And it may simply be that they feel comfortable they'll be able to pay for it going forward. They just need assistance for this first year because we are in the middle of receivership and it's just too challenging to find funding for something new. I wish that he was here. We could ask him what he knows.
Yes, I don't have the answer to that question. However, this is a one-time grant.
Yes, it's my
So if we do approve it, we're committing to it for this year.
only.
If they don't have the revenue for next year and they want to present us with a proposal, they can, and we can make a decision then or not to
Good point.
put it as a motion and or to approve it as well.
Mhm.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carried. At this time, I will open the floor to public comment. Seeing none, we'll move on to authority comments.
I want to congratulate my fellow members on their election to serve as officers of DeSagra. Thank you for your service.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations to Paul for his presumed reappointment for another 5-year term.
Well, we'll see what happens. So I'm a conditional chair at this time.
It hasn't officially happened yet?
No, not yet.
Oh,
So I do thank you for putting trust in me and potentially trust in a reappointment. I do thank you for your confidence. I think we work really well together as a team. I
Mhm.
really appreciate everyone's support. This will be
Your position has not expired.
correct
You continue until your replacement is appointed.
Correct. at the will of council. Yes. Yes. Okay.
So it's a limited
Oh,
years
I see.
term. but that is extended if they don't get around to appointing a replacement? Oh, is that right? Okay.
So I will make this comment, appointment or not, appointment or not, or when my date expires, either by the good Lord upstairs or by someone else. This will be my last year as chair. I think we do need to move on and provide other people opportunities in the future for 2026. So I do appreciate being given this this trust in me for the past few years. I also did want to mention, and maybe it's not, we were outside of the that discussion. I know we funded the sustainability conference in the past. As a special grant, I do want to do something to support sustainability countywide, whether it's through an organization or back through the borough, either something with sustainability or the environment or energy. I think it's very important, for, especially for low-income homes, to reduce their energy cost and their energy usage. I think that's part of the disposable income of low-income households, and anything that we can do to support that, I think is important for our residents in Delaware County. I would say low-income and middle-income families. I'm on the Borough of Prospect Park, and I'm responsible for buildings and parks. And part of my research in buildings is PJM is proposing a 20% increase in energy capacity cost, which is going to affect businesses, governments, and residential energy bills. And we know that electricity is a significant energy cost for households. So anything that we can do to support our residents in this county to help them with all these pressures that are upon them, I'm supportive of that. Any other authority comments?
Yeah, just one quick one, Mr. Chairman. At some point, we gave a special grant to the Chester Pike Corridor organization as a multi-municipal organization along the Chester Pike Corridor. And I don't expect any information or answer now, but I would just be curious to hear some kind of update on what is going on with our grant and with that project generally. I mean, not that we need more things to provide special grants to in the future, but I would just be interested to hear where that project has gone since we presented that those grant dollars.
Okay, I can reach out to them.
Thank you.
Would you want them to come, or would you want to see information in electronic format and we could just share it with at the next meeting?
I would be comfortable either way. I mean, if they give you an update and you want to give us an update, or if there's some kind of handout, or if they came, that would be fine too. I don't.
Back to their update.
We did, yes, yes. But I think he's asking for,
Yeah, we did. We went to an update gathering in Sharon Hill. Paul and I both went.
Oh, very
And
nice.
they gave a whole PowerPoint presentation about their progress and
Recently.
plans. 3
summer.
months, 4 months ago.
I thought it was summer.
Was it?
Oh, I mean, if there's a PowerPoint that somebody can just forward to me, that would be more than fine.
Okay, we'll reach out to him. All right, thank you. Any other authority comments? Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn our meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Did want to mention that we should, by next week, be receiving our fourth quarter payment.
Oh, okay.
We had increases every quarter until we got to the last two. And we kind of plateaued at 275.
Right.
I'm predicting 300.
And he's putting it on the camera. He usually emails us. Now he's on camera.
I've never really done proposition betting. But if I were a betting man, I would say it would be 300,000.
Okay, all right, all right. All those in favor, any other questions or comments before we adjourn? All those in favor of adjourning the meeting, say aye. Aye. Oppose, abstain?